Guys, I'm on a boat. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another vlog, Road to a Million. I've got to tell you guys about the WPT voyage experience I've had for the past, past few days. I'm finally going to get a cash game session in, but I'm going to bring you along what happened today at a very eventful, fun day here on the WPT voyage. I've been here for the past week, and I'm going to tell you guys what happened today.
It's the last day of the WPT voyage, which means we spent 7 days at sea, and it's been an incredible time so far. The highlights include a beautiful view from my room all 7 days, celebrating my good friend Tom's birthday on the ship, to also playing a golf tournament on the Cayman Islands, which was incredible. Guys, please roast my swing. I'm actually trying to get better. Also, spoiler alert, I only shot a 97, so got a lot of room to improve, along with endless good food and dinners on the ship. On our last day, we woke up early in the morning for a snorkeling excursion on Binami Island in the Bahamas. Nicole and I set off to check out an abandoned shipwreck. Supposedly, this ship was actually sunken during World War II, and we also got to swim with these sharks. They were much friendlier when we were in the water, but this is a video of our boat throwing food into the water for them as it was feeding time. And after a very long morning, we checked out WPT's player party during the day. They had an entire section blocked off just for us to soak up as much sun as we wanted, all the food and drinks we wanted to our heart's content. And as the sun sets, that means the poker is about to start.
All right, all of that said, all those adventures, drinks, snorkeling, all the fun stuff leads to now. Welcome to Road to a Million, another episode here. I haven't been able to play any cash games on the WPT voyage so far. This is the very last night of the ship and journey. So we're playing some 25-50, brought together, rallied the troops of a few people, and we got a full game going on the last night, so let's go with the bang, hopefully. I only have like 100K in my account that I wired here, so those are all the funds I've got. I'll probably put that all into play at some point in the night, but for now, let's get rowdy, let's get into it. It's been a very fun week on the WPT voyage, and hopefully we have a very fun time in this cash game with lots of fun people. So let's get involved, let's gamble, that's what we're here for.
The 25-50 streets is just getting underway. Cash games finally started as the boat is crossing international waters. So I buy in for $50,000 and expecting to have a very fun couple hours of poker here. First hand, we pick up King 6 of Hearts on the button. There's an early position raised to $200. Of course, for the first hand, I am going to have to be in here. I make the call and the big blind comes along as well. Off to a flop we go of Queen 9-6 to clubs. An action checks to me with bottom pair here. Certainly can go either way with a bet or check, I think. And why not put more money in the middle? That's kind of how my strategy is. We see a pair, and it's good enough to bet. I throw $200 out, pretty small bet, and not looking good as both of my opponents make the calls. So got to tread cautiously, I think, when the turn is the 9 of clubs. Well, if there's ever a card to tread cautiously on, it's the one that completes trips and the flush. So we're going to check through on this turn card. But the river's 6, oh my goodness, ending up with a full house. Well, certainly not going to be folding to any bet now, but obviously still losing to any 9. Anyways, the big blind checks and early position player throws out a bet of $300. And now on to me. I'm in a little bit of a weird position as the big blind still has yet to act and certainly could have a hand better than me, but at this point, I definitely have to go for a little bit of extra value here considering the small size that he bets. I can't imagine some really, really strong hands are going to be blocking for this small size, so I raise it up to 2,000. Praying that the big blind folds, and luckily there's no sweat as he quickly gets out of the way. And now onto my opponent, who does not do anything immediately, which means that my hand must be good given his posture, and ends up flicking in a call, and whew, we win the first pot of the night with a good old King 6. Going runner full house certainly was not the best hand on the flop, I guarantee you that, but that is not what matters. It's all about having the best hand by the river.
Guys, I have to admit, I do play a lot of online poker. Outside of the vlogs, I'm grinding a lot online from time to time, whether it's tournaments, online cash games and stuff. It's maybe something I'm going to incorporate into content one day.
But what WPT Global just told me is probably one of the most insane promotions that I've ever seen. In the month of May, from May 5th to the 26th, WPT Global is running their Spring Festival with over $7 million in tournament guarantees. And the best part about that, they're giving away 100% of the rake back to you guys, back to us, the players, for no reason at all other than to be nice people and to hopefully entice you guys to play, because it's kind of insane. They're running an entire tournament schedule for a whole month without collecting any of the rake and giving it all back to the players, which is kind of unheard of and unprecedented. Here behind me, I have to show you guys that I don't have these monitors on boxes anymore. The last time I talked about WPT Global, I had these on boxes and everyone flamed me. So I have an official monitor setup, but also WPT Global in the background where I'm going to be playing a lot of these tournaments, because how can I say no to a good deal? 100% rake free for the entire month. They've got some incredible tournaments lined up, a $3,500 WPT main event. They have a 1K prime, they have a $500 buy-in, and all the other smaller events as well, multi-day flights and massive guarantees. So this is gonna be the biggest series on the site so far. If you're outside the US, click the link in the description below to hop in and play. Use the code Rampage to sign up for an additional deposit bonus. Lastly, they're also incorporating a really cool event for PLO players. If you play PLO cash, they're giving away $4,000 daily on their PLO leaderboards. Just play a lot of cash games, play a lot of hands, and if you're up on that leaderboards list, you can win up to $4,000 every single day, which is a pretty insane promotion they're running, because they're starting up the PLO games on their side of the site. So if any of that interests you and you're able to play outside the US, link in the description below. It's on WPT Global, and use the code Rampage to sign up on all the cool things. And I'll see you guys on the virtual felt. Moving right along, I'm in the straddle, putting on the $100 in the middle here. There's a low jack raise at 300. Big blind makes the call, and I look down at king, queen of diamonds. This certainly looks very, very pretty and obviously very tempting to go for a squeeze, and I do exactly that. I make it $1,400 here out of position against the low jack opponent, and he does end up making the call. Big blind, who got squeezed, gets out of the way, and we're going to a flop which looks pretty cool, an ace low low with 2 diamonds. Here we have the flush draw and lots of different possibilities here to go with. As I'm out of position, I decided to experiment with a very small bet, about a 10% pot bet of $300. I decided to go small here because this is obviously a board that I'm going to be betting a lot on. Maybe my specific hand wants to go a little bit bigger, but hey, for $300, my opponent makes the call, and we're off to a turn, which comes another low card and not a diamond, sadly. Now at this point, I have one of two options, which seems pretty easy. It's a bet or check, but I think this is a card that I'm going to be checking on a lot of the time, and on the off chance in times that I do want to bet, it's going to be for a big size, mainly because this board now doesn't look as great for me versus my opponent, and I'm just going to think that king, queen, obviously very good flush draw, is going to get after it and start firing heavier. So I fire $3,500, and at this point, my plan is to get him to fold, and that is not what he does. He ended up making the call, which is going to be pretty tricky as we navigate a river. You know, what kind of cards do we want to bluff on? What kind of cards do we want to give up on? And it doesn't matter when the river is the 4 of diamonds. Thank goodness I am not faced with a difficult decision. This is a pretty easy one. Of course, I have a flush. Even though the board is paired, I don't think that's so much of a concern. So here, my opponent has a little bit less than $10,000 left in the stack, and I am going to be all in. Of course, this is lovely as I get to shove on a card that completes my flush. Very much easier to do this when you actually have a good hand versus just trying to bluff. And here my opponent is in the tank for quite some time, thinking over his options, and here this would be a really sick start to the session if my opponent did call, and he does flick in a call. How nice is that? My opponent sees the flush, acknowledges its existence of 5 of the same suit, and throws his cards into the muck. So here we go, starting off hot. I stack my opponent, unlucky for him here, as I ended up binking on the river. He thought I was bluffing, and to be fair, I was bluffing just until the river card. But here we go. Things are getting spicy now. You know, we have limited time to play poker, and the $200 straddle is on. Pick up 10s in the hijack, and I raise it up to $500. We get the button to make the call, then the small blind puts in a 3-bet, a pretty gnarly big one to 3 50,000. The small blind player is one of the few players at the table that I'm playing quite deep with, about $20,000 behind or so. So, facing a pretty large 3-bet like this with 10 in position of him, don't think this is a candidate to fold. So we're going to see some flops as I make the call and the button gets out of the way. We're off to a flop of Queen 6-5 Rainbow. Here, my opponent throws out a starting bet of $3,000 on this flop, a little bit less than a pot-sized bet, and alarm bells are already sirening. Not feeling very comfortable with tens, the overcard to my pair is never fun. He can have ace-queen, he can have king-queen, he can obviously have aces, kings, and all that stuff. But I don't think that this is a hand that I can fold just yet, to be honest with you. Although, in hindsight, feels like a 50-50 decision. And when those 50-50 decisions happen, of course, I'm going to make the call. Now, we're going to a turn which comes another queen. And here, my opponent slows down and checks, which makes me feel a little bit better about this situation. On one hand, I do think he's going to be playing a lot of his overpairs this way when he doesn't have a queen here. But he also will play all of the hands that I'm beating as well, like this, like ace-queen, ace-jack, jack-10, other random 3-bet bluffs. So I'm feeling kind of torn on what I want to do. Tens is not really the best hand in the world, but I do think my hand needs some protection. So that led me to bet a small amount of $5,000. When my opponent checks on this turn, I'm not putting him on a queen and hoping that he just has a worse hand than mine. So I put a very small bet out considering the size of the pot. And for $5,000, my opponent does end up making the call. And now at this point, I think I'm done putting money into the middle. When the river comes in 8, action goes check, check pretty quickly here. Don't think I can get any more value from any hands worse than pocket 10s at this point. And my opponent has pocket kings. So, of course, unfortunately, I'm going to lose. One of the bigger pots that we've played so far tonight does not go my way, unfortunately. So, basically gave away all the profits from the king-queen hand where I hit a flush. And yeah, this feels a little bit bad. 10s and the kings, what are you going to do? I didn't have to lose an extra $5,000 on the turn, but I probably would have had to lose some sort of money on the river if action went check, check on that turn anyways. All right, so not feeling great about that hand, but no better way to climb out of the hole than playing a suspect hand like Jack 8 of diamonds in the hijack. The $100 straddle is on, so I raise it up to $300. We get 3 people to call around. So 4 ways to a flop we go of, ace 9, 5 all diamonds, flopping the flush. What a dream for me. This is an incredible situation, and even more so when I decide to check and everyone checks over to the button player who fires out a bet of $400. And when action folds all the way back to me here, I think as played with a flush, I have a pretty easy check raise. I'm going to be check raising lots of other worse hands and also a bunch of bluffs. So why not do it when I have the goods? Basically, like the nuts, obviously not technically the nuts, but feels like it. I check raise to $1,600, 4x his size, and for $1,600, my opponent makes the call. So we've got some action, and hopefully we can get it all in. When the turn comes a red 4, but not a diamond, luckily, so pretty clean one for me. I decided to throw out a larger bet of $3,500. A little bit larger than I should go for, to be honest with you. I don't think I size up correctly, but hey, how bad can it really be when you have a flush here? I would be betting big regardless, but maybe 3,000 would have been better. But anyways, my opponent goes into the tank, and he is thinking for a while, and all I can think about is Vegas in the Mirage, baby. Let's get there. My opponent ends up making the call, which is awesome. Obviously, when he tanks, I don't imagine that he's going to have a hand better than mine unless he wants to Hollywood. But with about $7,500 left in his stack, we're off to a river, which comes in 8. Complete brick, doesn't change anything. And of course, I'm going to stick to the script. I have a flush, I have a good hand. Let's just try to get paid. Very easy game here, especially when you have the goods. So I'm all in, and my opponent sheepishly sticks in a call, isn't happy about it, but I show the flush, and it's going to win. This is a buddy of mine, and he told me later that he had ace 5, which is not very fun. Flopping 2 pair and getting check raise on a monotone board is certainly not a fun spot to be in, but he ended up paying it off. So happy to win this pot. Unlucky for my friend, but hey, if I have the reputation of just being a complete blaster and bluffing, I'm going to have it sometimes as well. With the momentum on my side after winning another massive pot here, picking up Jack 10 offsuit, $100 straddle is on, and I'm in the cutoff, raising it up to $300. Here, I get the small blind to 3-bet me to 1,050. Don't love the situation. I have a pretty easy fold, but hey, I did put the game together, and technically that makes me the host, so why not give some action and make the call? Let's see a flop with a suspect hand, which comes king 4-6. Lame. Pretty boring flop. My opponent fires out $500 and not much I can do here. Letting my cards go, throwing them into the muck, and donating $1,000. Next hand we go. I'm in the straddle with king 9 offsuit. The ungun player raises it up to $225. Cutoff calls, small blind calls. How can I say no to a lovely price of $125 more? We're off to a flop, which comes 9-7-3 all diamonds here. Pretty spicy flop with top pair. Action's going to check through on a monotone board, unfortunately, so no money in the middle. But the turn comes the jack of clubs. Small blind checks on this turn. I check on this turn card, and then the ungun player fires out $525. Then the cutoff makes the call. And when the small blind folds to me here with a 9, I'm thinking like this should be a good situation to fold. But hey, I have the king of diamonds, so how can I ever fold, to be honest with you? I'm kidding. Never folding in this spot, but not loving the situation. It seems very unlikely for me to make any money in this hand. So actually now, while I'm doing this commentary, thinking that check raise might actually be a pretty good spot to do it. But as played, I decided to call. I'm just going to take the easy way out. It's getting late. I've had a long day. Let's see a river card, which comes a board pairing 7. Doesn't improve me at all. I don't think it's going to improve any other opponents as well, but both myself and the ungun player is going to check. And now the cutoff fires out 2,200. Feels like I just kind of gave up on this hand, to be honest with you. I don't think I can ever call this price, especially multi-way, and you know what? I'm over it. I fold. There's no way that my 9 can be good here. Check raising now seems super ambitious. So actually going to go fold and then another fold. So we don't actually end up seeing what the cutoff had, but can't say I'm super proud or happy about how I played this hand. But moving on to the last hand of the night, the time is winding down. They're about to shut off the cash games as we're approaching the US and the cruise is ending. But here with Jack 10 offsuit, once again, I'm in the big one with the $100 straddle on. Only going to raise us to 300. Middle position calls. I call. Straddle calls. So multi-way to a flop we go of 10-5-3-2 hearts. This time with Jack 10 offsuit. I flop top pair. Action is going to check all the way to the middle position player who fires out $800. He's in position. Here with top pair, I don't think I have any other decision here other than a call. So I do exactly that. I call the 800 and the straddler to my left calls as well. So now going 3 ways to a turn, which comes a board pairing 5. Middle card is paired, and I think about this decision for a little bit here. Obviously, I think my hand can just check pretty easily, but when we're multi-way, I kind of want to thin out the field and just try to make it heads up on the river, potentially. I don't know. There's lots of draws out there, and this card should be better for me. It's definitely a card that's going to be checked through a lot of the time. So I decided to lead out for $1,000, and immediately... very, very bad news, I must say. The straddler goes all in for $4,500. So much for all of that like leading and trying to be tricky and fancy. That didn't work out for me as my opponent immediately goes all in. Then the middle position player calls the all in for $4,500, and I am way out of here. Snap folding the Jack 10, and we're going to see an all-in pot. The straddler has trips with a 5. So that's silly of me. And the middle position player has pocket 3s for flopping bottom sets. Wow, I could not have torched this $1,000 any more impressively than in this fashion. Anyways, nice hand to both of my opponents. Only one of them's going to win, and the pocket 3s is going to hold. So yeah, at least he took an extra $1,000 off of me with Jack 10, who sticks it in with just one pair. I guess I do, but hey, I'm going to lose this one. I fold on the turn, and that is how we wrap up the session. All right, cashing things out, wrapping things up here from the WPT voyage. As you can tell from my voice, I've had a couple drinks. Also, shout out to this bar that has way too many drinks that I could ever want to even consume in a week. They just gave it all to me. Anyways, wrapping things up. Unfortunately, the game didn't go as long as I hoped for. The game only lasted like under 4 hours, 3.5 hours maybe, just because the ship is disembarking in like 10 hours or something like that. And I guess they had to pack up and close things out, sadly. So we only played for like 3.5 hours. I was in the game for 40K, out of the game for a total of $51,380, which is a win, which is good. Feels like it could have won a little bit more if I didn't run those 10 to the kings. That one feels a little bit bad, but outside of that, overall, can't complain about winning. It feels good to win. It's been a long time, I feel like. I haven't played cash in a very long time, so anyways, good to be making progress, closer to the $1 million mark. Stats all around here on the update of this journey. So if you're new to the channel, follow along. Doing a road to $1 million because I lost $1 million playing high stakes poker in like not enough months for it to justify how much I lost. Anyways, nice to book a win, and always a nice time to wrap up the WPT voyage on a good high note, which is lovely. And hopefully I'll see you guys on this boat next year whenever they run it, because this was amazing, unbelievable trip. Good time playing cash. Who can complain? I'll see you next time in the next video. Later.